Let us start with the new lecture. In this lecture, we are going to cover the pen testing methodologies. The first is the OWASP pen testing methodology. The OWASP testing guide is being developed as a part of the OWASP testing project of the Open Web Application Security Project. It is not a complete methodology covering a full pen testing, but it is focused only on the core pen testing phases of the web application security. This guide provides a detailed discussion on the security assessment of the web applications as well as their deployment stack, including web server configuration. It follows a black box pen testing approach and is comprehensive of what and when. There are also some guides on how, mainly in the form of listing the tools which can be used in each step and every step of pen testing. The main phases defined by the OWASP testing guide are information gathering, covering exposure assessment and deployment fingerprinting, configuration and deployment management testing, which is assessing the server security configuration, web application security testing, which is listing a set of steps testing for specific web apps and vulnerabilities. Much more are included like identify management testing, authentication testing, authorization testing, session management testing, input validation testing, testing for error handling, testing for weak cryptography, business logic testing, client-side testing, which looks for vulnerabilities such as JavaScript execution, HTML or CSS injection. The OWASP community is very active, making this methodology as one of the best maintained, comprehensive and up-to-date technologies. With many of pen testing projects nowadays, including some form of web apps, the OWASP testing guide is definitely you should know and you should be familiar with. The OWASP testing guide basically contains almost everything that you would test in a web application. The methodology is comprehensive and is designed by some of the best researchers in the world. An open source security testing methodology manual OSSTMM basically includes almost all the steps involved in a penetration test. The methodology employed for penetration tests is concise, yet it's cumbersome process which makes it difficult to implement it in our day-to-day lives. Penetration tests, despite being tedious, demands a great deal of money out of companies' budgets for their completion, which often are not made by large organizations. OSSTMM has been primarily developed as a security auditing methodology, assessing against regulatory and industry requirements. It is not meant to be used as a stand-alone methodology, but rather to serve as a basis for developing one which is tailored towards the required regulations and frameworks. Next is the ISSAF methodology. It stands for Information System Security Assessment Framework. The ISSAF methodology is supported by the Open Information System Security Group. Although it is no longer maintained and therefore a bit out of date, one of its strengths is that it links individual pen test steps with penetration testing tools. It aims to provide a comprehensive guide in conducting a pen test and can be a good basis for developing your own custom methodology. ISSAF breaks the pen testing process into three phases: planning and preparation, assessment, reporting, cleanup, and destroy the artifacts. The first phase is planning and preparation. This phase is brief and only describes the steps to exchange initial information, plan, and prepare the test. It emphasizes the need for a formal assessment agreement to be signed before any testing begins. The next phase is assessment. This is the more useful phase. It's relatively detailed and even describes some of the pen testing tools to be used. Targets are described as networks, hosts, applications, and databases. To some extent, it is out of date and not complete. And the third phase is reporting. This phase discusses the communication channels and types of reports in the project. The final part of the framework is quite brief and focuses on removing any artifacts left over from the pen test. It leaves the pen tester free to choose like how to encrypt, sanitize, and destroy data created during the pen test. Next is the NIST methodology. The federal government developed the NIST Cyber Security Framework in 2013 to respond to the increased threat of cyber attacks on the critical US infrastructure, including energy production facilities, water supplies, communication systems, and many more. The backbone of the NIST framework is five core functions, structured as a single and logical process. First is the identify process. The identify phase is where we develop an organizational understanding of the risks that threaten your systems, assets, and data. Gaining this understanding requires a careful analysis of the connections between each component, documenting how assets move through your systems and how they get accessed by the staff. Next is to protect. The protect phase is where you deploy safeguards to limit the impact of potential cybersecurity event and includes both digital and physical protections. Next is the detect. As the name implies, this function includes all the processes and procedures for detecting cybersecurity anomalies and making sure that those events are properly understood. Fourth is the respond. Organizations must also implement processes to properly and quickly respond to a cybersecurity event after it's been detected. And the last is to recover. The final function of the NIST cybersecurity methodology is to recover, which refers to the ability to provide resilience after cyber attack and recover any capabilities or services that may have been affected. The NIST framework isn't a compliance standard. It was designed to guide the work of competent cybersecurity professionals. Unlike a compliance standard, there's no regulatory body that will verify whether your company is properly implementing the NIST. Nor is the standard designed to be followed using the NIST methodology. In the next video, we are going to see three categories of ethical hacking: black box, white box, and gray box.